Academy Award winner, Olympia Dukakis. Rahul, I think I'm pronouncing the name correctly. What happened to you when you read Armistead's books is what happened to me when I performed Anna Madrigal. Yeah. I couldn't believe it when you said it. I was so moved by what you said because, people say to a lot, ask actresses all the time, what do you like, movies, do you like plays? What's the part that you care about most? And my answer is always the same, Anna Madrigal. Oh. It's not that I don't appreciate Moonstruck and Steel Magnolias and grateful that these things happened in my life. But what happened for me when I did Anna Madrigal was that I understood that the most important thing for me was to survive myself. And that's what Anna Madrigal did. And it was doing that part that I understood that that's a worthwhile effort in life. It's not unimportant to survive yourself. So I'm very grateful tonight that I have the opportunity to be here and to be the one that gives Armistead this award, because in addition to being one of our great American writers, he is my friend and my teacher. Thank you.
Olympia just said our hair is white, as if she just discovered it. Boy, I tell you, if you write it, she will come. The biggest blessing of my life to invent a character and have a brilliant, brilliant actor and a great human being come portray it and make her come alive and then become my friend. It's just absolutely and utterly magical. Thank you, Olympia. Thank you for being here tonight. I want to tell you a little story about something that happened to me about, I don't know, a dozen years ago in San Francisco. There was a juice bar, a new juice bar opened on Castro Street. That's a fairly common occurrence. But this particular juice bar had a motif of well-known gay people. And I walked into it one day and was shocked and delighted to discover that my name was in a sort of fresco thing that ran around the top of the juice bar. I was there between Oscar Wilde and Martina Navratilova. I was just beside myself with excitement. You know, when it happens to you and other people think you're famous or something, you don't fully feel it, really. And so I thought, well, the least I could do is order a damn drink. So I walked over to this nice, efficient woman behind the counter and looked up and saw what they were offering and decided to get a sort of carrot and orange juice and ginger combo thing. And she gave me a little tab, a little wooden token that said Joan of Arc on it. And I said, oh, is that the name of the drink? And she said, no, that designates your order. Just sit down, please, and we'll serve you in a moment. So I sat down with my little Joan of Arc tab, and moments later, a very cute young baby dyke who sort of hooked Finn, the kind I always actually look at and think, went over to the woman and placed her order and came back and sat down with the tab herself. About 5 minutes later, the woman behind the counter said, "Armistead, Maupin," and the baby dyke got up and got her drink. I tell you that because to me it represents something, the sense to which we are all, as queers, no matter who we are, and by the way, I throw straight people into the mix too, because there's a straight friend of mine who once said when he marched in the parade with me, you don't have to be gay to be queer. We are all so connected to each other through writing. This Christopher Bram, the wonderful writer Christopher Bram, one of the great New York novelists, wrote a nonfiction book that described the way in which this revolution was led by writers, and it's really true. There was a moment when all we had were our words to each other. When Rahul mentioned going into the bookshop in Chapel Hill to read my books, I was very moved by what he had to say, but I also remembered going into the Intimate Bookshop in Chapel Hill in 1963 or something like that, and finding a book by Patrick Dennis called First Lady, the guy that wrote Auntie Mame, who himself was queer, and who did these sort of illustrated, with a photographer named Chris Alexander, and they would do these kind of illustrated comic novels. Little Me was another one. And he had done one showing this woman's history in the South, and with all these beefcake guys in overalls, it was serious beefcake at a time when it simply did not exist anywhere. And I felt almost as if that had given me, it was a clue, it was connecting me to my tribe in a way that I never could have imagined. It just came to me out of nowhere. I had the same experience in the early 70s when I was already in San Francisco, and I walked into a shop that was selling paperbacks, and there was a novel that said, and the front of it was just black and white copy with maybe some red, the title, and it said, "It's New Year's Eve, your best friend just died, your girlfriend's left you, and there's no one left to talk to but the gay burglar you have tied up in your kitchen. P.S. Your cat is dead." That funny little book by James Kirkwood opened my heart, because it wasn't quite queer, because Kirkwood he was the guy that wrote the book to a chorus line, and he was not quite out even towards the end of his life. He was, when I met him, I was actually disappointed by that aspect of it, but it didn't matter, because the book, those words, the joy in the story, and the fact that a gay character could be presented in this way was mind-boggling to me. Literature, gay literature, came to me through, I'm so sorry to admit it, Liza fucking Minnelli. I saw Cabaret when I moved to San Francisco, and here was this story about an apartment house with an eccentric landlady and a woman who might be slightly in love with her gay friend. Is it sounding slightly familiar to you? And I thought, who wrote this? Where did this come from? So I checked out. I figured out who Christopher Isherwood was, and as it happened, he had come out, I think, with a memoir called Kathleen and Frank just about at that time, and here was this amazing man in his 70s that I actually came to know. 3 days ago, a friend of mine, a guy named Chris Freeman, who is one of the biographers of Isherwood, who collects and who's a scholar who studies him. Yay for Chris Freeman. It's totally on Facebook that there was an entry from 1978 in the new Isherwood Diaries, which is called Liberation. It's his third and final diary, in which, and I may be able to recite it for you by heart, he said something to the effect of, I cannot stop reading Armistead Maupin's Tales of the City, which arrived by post today from the author. I can't help thinking how much Whiston would have loved it. He's referring to Whiston Auden, one of the great poets of the 20th century, and his friend. I tell you this story not to heap glory on myself. Well, okay, maybe a little bit. But to say to Rahul and everybody else, we all have somebody who's further down the line from us, someone who speaks to us, who reaches across the ages to us with their words. The wonderful thing about the categories that we're seeing up on stage tonight is we're seeing how that has spread everywhere in terms of our racial origins, our gender, the whole thing, everything. Barbary Lane, LGBTQ, and some straight people thrown in. We're seeing it. We're opening up the world to each other and testifying about our lives to each other. And we can still do that, and we can be part of this amazing genealogy. When I got to know Isherwood, I remember I was being interviewed tonight with someone with a tape recorder, and he was apologizing for it, and I said, oh my God, I took a cassette mini recorder to Isherwood when I was 30 years ago, and it crapped out on me. And he said, oh, don't worry, and has this happened to me before, many times. And I thought, when you were interviewing Somerset Maugham? We are part of this lineage. We are connected to this. We're all connected to each other. We're connected to each other in this room tonight. The people who write know the terrors of sitting down to put something on the page to reflect who you are. It doesn't go away, by the way. It doesn't go away. The doubt is still there. The responsibility is still there. But we survive it. One of the reasons I survived it, I have a wonderful husband who's not here tonight, Christopher Turner, on whom I base this like a bedrock of my life, where I can feel the love and support and make that the most important thing, and then let writing still be fun. I'm here tonight with my beloved friend James Lacine, who years ago, because he has a loving, open, beautiful heart, invented a little character that he played in a one-man show. James was also the co-writer of Further Tales of the City, of course, and a lot of other things. And a brilliant actor who just went on to Broadway when James McKean got injured. He had his Ruby Keeler moment. But what James did was to tell a story that caught people's imaginations about a little boy in high school who wanted to kill himself because he was gay, and he had a crush on his straight best friend, and the little boy was called Trevor. And that grew into something, to a short film that won an Oscar, and became the Trevor Project, which is reaching millions and millions of kids today. So proud of you, James. And we all do that with our words. We reach people we don't. That's the great pleasure of it, isn't it? People come up and tell you that you reached them in some way that you never guessed that you would. Bob Smith, who is here tonight, wrote a brilliant book last year. Remembrance of things I forgot. Bob told me that my enthusiasm over the book, he told me on Facebook, meant something to him, and I realized that we all have that power to give and receive in this business. We can pass it on, and we can take it from our elders, and it's lovely. In Tales of the City, Anna Madrigal, the character played by Olympia Dukakis, refers to the fact that there are biological families and then there are logical families. The logical family is the one we make for ourselves because they're our friends and our lovers and our connective tissue, the people that stay with you. It's not there because of birth, but because there's something in your spirit that draws you together. And that describes the whole queer writing community in a beautiful way. So thank you. I am really, really honored to receive this award. It matters to me more than any other literary recognition I could have, because I'm very proud of having been out there and doing this in a public way for 36 years. And I want to keep doing it. Thank you.